So I'm very cynical and therefore two short remarks. Remark number one, the neoliberal story. It comes out that in the 90s, in Eastern Europe, it was inevitable because the leaders of the public discourse, the public intellectuals, were liberals. And liberals were selling a sort of straightforward neoliberal sort of Washington consensus, if I may say so. Plus, you had with the exception of the Czech Social Democrats and in a complex way the Slovaks, in all other countries the new social democratic parties were led by former reform communists. And these reform communists were forced to sell themselves as neoliberal to the West. So if you were not neoliberal, nobody was buying you. You were not accepted to the EU, to the NATO, and so on and so forth. So therefore, their generation had a double baton, I would say. I mean, this neoliberal baton. And now you have a new generation of young social democratic activists who are not forced to sell themselves as neoliberals. So this is the very first time in the modern history of modern social democracy in Central Europe when you have the choice where you have a choice at all. I mean, the generation of the 90s had no choice. You must understand that. You can complain, etc., but no choice. So that's question number one. Question number two, that I would be very careful with this racist, not racist sort of something. Because first of all, we know, and we were, I mean, my institute was studying that in details, that game between social and ethnic and social is going on since 100 years. And practically, unfortunately, in these four countries, we were able to find a proper solution. So, for example, the technocrats of the Hungarian Kádár regime in the 90s, they were doing, I mean, they did it. So everything is social. We are helping, etc., full-scale social policy. Then the social system collapsed, and it came out that you cannot solve it as a social problem because, I mean, if you don't offer jobs, you cannot speak about it. Then the idea was, let's develop a full-scale nationality. It was not the racists who were raising the national, but in most of these countries, in Slovakia and Hungary for sure, Mr. Soros was doing it. Because the Soros foundations were creating the Roma elites. They were paying special money, special fund. I'm not saying they were bad, I was doing that. The idea was to build up, and we had a wonderful guy, came back, was doing social work with the Indians in Latin America, and he was trying to use the similar technique in the East European Roma communities. I mean, it came out that you don't have inter-ethnic solidarity in the modern East European societies, by the way, in the modern West European societies as well. So if you're a foreigner, if you're a migrant, I mean, mind your own business, it's not all. But at the same time, it comes up, and we did some research in Slovakia and in Hungary, and it comes up that Roma are not accepted if you take a scale in which you have the all ethnic, also ethnic minorities, and then you have drug dealers, alcoholic, and I don't know what, and the population is putting the Roma not to the Jews as other ethnic minorities, but to the hooligans, drug dealers, noisemakers, etc. So it's a lifestyle minority status. So it's very complex. You cannot make short-term, one-cycle political decisions. And the third problem, which is the real problem, in your presentation, comes up that if you look at the most successful catching up countries, not Eastern Europe, but South Korea and Taiwan, then we have 15 years of American military aid, which was not only military aid, but it was aid into roads and ports, etc. And then practically no growth. I mean, you have money coming in, so the infrastructure is built up, and after that you have the growth, so the practical growth. So it comes up that, I mean, if you look at that example, then you cannot explain the Polish growth mainly with the sort of substitute FDI coming from the EU. Not to speaking about the case that naturally Poland is the largest country in the post-socialist European Union, and therefore Poland is getting a lot of money. But if you look at the percentage of the money coming to the EU, from the EU to these countries, and for example, Hungary receives higher percentage of money. So it's a smaller country, but it receives more than proportionally if you compare it with Poland. No growth. So you have more money and no growth. You have less money and growth. You have less money coming to the country and growth simultaneously, and in other cases you have investments and then later on, 10 years later, the growth. So in my understanding, so we cannot solve in a simple way that the question in that way as you were suggesting. Having in mind that naturally EU money is important. Not to speaking about that, I was trying to do research on that in the region. Significant money of the money is stolen. Significant money, and it's honored by the commissions in which EU is also there, not to spend money on direct sources of growth. So you can reconstruct cities, you can build up stadiums, you can do everything what you want, but you cannot invest into economic growth because they are not interested in creation with EU taxpayer monies to create competitive industries for the same industries. So it would be stupid to use German or German or French money to build up competitors to the German and French industry. They are not good. So they're okay.